Hello and welcome to the Elevate podcast. I'm your host, Patricia Nowakowski. I am a salon owner, educator, mindset, and leadership coach that helps salon owners go from overwhelmed and burnt out to motivated and empowered. It is my mission to help you systemize your business, generate more profit, and create a career that you are absolutely in love with. Join us every week to learn about the small shifts you can make to elevate your business regarding mindset, marketing, social media, business systems, and so much more. Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of the Elevate podcast. On today's episode, it kind of has a dual purpose. One of the things that I really want to talk about is what to do if one of your stylists quits, because I feel like this is such a great area for so many salon owners. And there's so many reasons why. It's mixed feelings, right? There's a lot of fear because we're afraid our business is going to fall apart. We're losing most of the time team members that we absolutely adore and that we don't want to lose. It is a dramatic change in revenue for us sometimes. It just can lead to weird relationships and relationship shifting. And sometimes as owners, even though we want to be our best self during these times of stress, our worst version can come out. This is just natural. But I want to talk about this because I want to share what the process looks like for me and some of the experiences that I've had when people have quit. I also want to talk about canceling out the noise in the industry. I'm so sick of people shaming salon owners for protecting their livelihood and for protecting their businesses. Wondering what it's like to work with me? Want to know what I've tried and tested in my salon and how you can create more freedom as a salon owner? I'm excited to offer an exciting way to get my coaching lessons to you in our podcast subscription. The Elevate Insider is an inside look into my coaching calls and includes exclusive content from me. These episodes contain coaching lessons and the exact steps you need to take to grow your salon. Plus, you'll receive special PDFs and supporting documents so that you can easily take action. To learn more and to become an insider, visit opulentbeautypro.com/insider or find an episode of the Elevate Insider on Apple Podcasts. No one will understand what you are going through, and we have to always remember this. No coaching companies, no hairstylists, no salon suite owners, none of them will understand what the stress is like or what the experience is like when you own a whole ass salon with a whole ass team, unless they've actually gone through it themselves. Now, I don't want to advocate toxic behavior. I want to advocate you being your best self during one of the hardest times that you have in business. And I want to give you the process that I go through to give you some clarity and permission to do what you need to do in order to ensure that your business continues to thrive and you continue to rebuild sometimes things that fall apart. What really prompted this topic was somebody sending me an episode of a podcast from a certain coaching company. And it's so sad that I actually used to work for this company and I really bought into what they were saying because I truly wanted to change the industry. I truly loved the owners when I was working for them. And when I was inside of this bubble, I had no idea the devastation that was happening with the things that they were putting out until I actually got outside of the bubble. And once I got outside of the bubble, I saw the reality of what was happening. And it just kind of prompted me to truly speak out about the things that I believe to be true, to really just kind of guide other people and give people permission to do the things that they need to do to help rebuild and grow their business. One of the things and one of the reasons also why I want to talk about this is the hypocrisy and the way that they talk about salon owners, because half of the things that they talk down upon are the same things that they actually do inside of their company behind closed doors. For example, lowering our commission and taking away a good chunk of our commission, 12% to be exact, and changing and lowering our pricing, which they tell no salons to do or no stylists to do, because they tell salon owners and stylists that they can charge whatever they want, but they couldn't charge what they wanted for coaching. So they had to lower our prices to try to get more people. Another thing that I thought was pretty hypocritical is they asked me not to take my students. I want to say at this time I had about maybe 15 people in my coaching pod. And when I left the company, the owner called me and said for financial reasons that I couldn't take the people that I was working with, which is so funny because they really push that stylists own their clients and really give salon owners a hard time when salon owners try to keep the clients, because technically the salon owner does not own the client. So hypocritical. Another thing, especially when it comes to salon owners, is again, we do have a lot of overhead. So those clients staying in the business are crucial to their survival, which is exactly what happened to them when I left the company. Another thing that was very hypocritical is we were all 1099s. And as a 1099, you're an independent contractor, which comes with freedoms and the able to select what you do and do not want to do. We were 1099 employees with W-2 expectations. And again, they 1099'd us because of tax purposes. Of course, they didn't want to pay employment taxes on us. Yet they really push commission salon owners to not rent and to have W-2 employees. But the W-2 expectations were, if you didn't show up to certain things, this exactly happened with my friend Shelly, that, she really pick and chose what she wanted to work on because she had a lot of things going on, yet it didn't work out in her favor. We'll just say that. So the 1099 contractor, but with W-2 expectations, is another thing that was so hypocritical. I also want to say that I probably should have been more honest with the owners. I did bring a lot of concerns to both of them, but most of my concerns were met with just gaslighting, excuses, and pushback. So I just kind of learned to stop saying things that if I wanted to stay with the company, it was the way that they wanted to do it. It was my choice to work for them, which it was. But in reality, there were so many things that they did that toxic salon owners do. But one of the things that they really made very clear with the hypocrisy of how they handle and manage things inside of their company is something that they recently just talked about on their podcast, where there was a stylist who wrote in who was very upset because their salon owner said that they could no longer work at the salon because they wanted to open their own place. And they really kind of bashed the salon owner for protecting their business. One, they did the same exact thing to me when I quit their company. I have never experienced so much toxic behavior because of the fear that the owner had about me, quote unquote, ruining their company or destroying their company or hurting the inside company with the, let's just say, influence I had over the people, my coworkers. What they did to me inside of this company is the same exact thing that they're shaming salon owners for doing. And that just kind of rubs me the wrong way because we're human. We are all human. We all make terrible mistakes because our emotions get in the way. I have done this with past team members who've quit my salon, who haven't followed through with their contracts when I had renters. So for shaming people for these things is just really pissing me off. What you need to do is you need to give people guidance and solutions instead of making people feel like fucking shit. And I want everyone to know that being human is okay. And as long as you are changing behavior when behavior happens because you know it's wrong and you experience the pain that has been created from it, which prompts you to change, as long as you're making those changes, you're doing great. You are doing great. I don't think anyone understands the financial pressure that salon owners go through and how absolutely quickly it can disappear. Your financial success can disappear in literally an instant. You can have 2 stylists leave and it completely changes your financial success and your future. So I just think that it is comical that they're supposed to be helping salon owners. Instead, they shame salon owners. They're supposed to be pro salon owners, but instead they're pro stylists. And they're hurting most of the people that enroll in their program. I am not going to lie. I'm not saying this out of opinion. I am saying this out of so many messages that I've received, removing myself from the bubble, because when you're in their bubble, outside noise, it's on mute. You don't listen to it. And then once you get outside of the bubble and you see, you're like, I can't believe I was just involved in that. I debated even sharing this, but these things need to shift and change. My goal is to help salon owners and not to shame them. What needs to happen is, instead of shaming people, start offering solutions so that we can really change the industry. And that's what I want to do for you today. Again, I want to preface, you see, when people feel threatened to lose everything, the worst of them come to the surface. And I think the advice they give is funny, because when they felt threatened by me, they had the exact behavior as a toxic salon owner when it came to me exiting the company. I left this company because of toxic manipulation, the favoring mean girl behavior, and their lack of data collected, and the inability to hear feedback if we were giving them information about things not working. I was collecting data. I had a whole list. I'm spilling all the tea today because I don't think people understand what a mind fuck this last year has been for me because of this company. My mental health struggled so much, and I am finally in a place of being healed. I'm confident and secure in where I am and what I'm doing, and in my business and in my personal life. Like, my personal life has never been better. I'm in a place where I just don't care. And I, again, have really just kind of like gone back and forth about really sharing this, but I'm going to share today. So those were all the reasons why I decided to take a step back and why it was time for me to leave. I was collecting data of all of the past students who were no longer doing hourly pricing, who were now giving discounts, trying to rebuild their business. I had a whole spreadsheet in my Google Drive of many people, not just my students, but students of the company. And I did bring this to one of the owners' attention, and I just was like kind of surprised by the reaction. I was always met when I would bring things to the attention of both owners. I know my methods work. I know my methods work. I just know my methods work. That's what I would always hear. I remember one time my friend and I, we were talking about hourly pricing, and hourly pricing, I just want to say hourly pricing, if you are somebody who wanted to implement this and it didn't work for you, it did not work for a lot of people, and it tanked a lot of people's businesses, and it still does. I remember we were on a Zoom call. It was the group of us. We were bringing to the attention that we were not going to do a traditional hourly pricing menu. When I implemented an hourly structure and an hourly pricing on my menu, my online bookings dramatically went down. 2 months in a row, our revenue went down $20,000 for my salon for 2 months. And I was at a place is like, I cannot afford to do this. This is not working. We lost a lot of clients. So I had to switch my menu back to hourly pricing. It was based off of hourly pricing, but it was more of a traditional facing menu. And it was more of a menu that was not a la carte, but it was more package pricing than necessarily hourly pricing, because clients just didn't understand what hourly pricing was. And we got a lot of kickback for that. I did a lot of work for this company for free, and I brought in a lot of revenue because I had a shit ton of students. I think my max students, I want to say I had like 27 students a month at that time. People paying around $600 a month at 27, that's a lot of fucking money. Over $16,000 a month I was generating for this company. Not to mention all the free shit I did. Free clubhouse talks, free classes in the community. I remember there was one time me and one of the owners did a social media class that we were charging. It was like $100 per ticket or something like that. And we ended up selling 100 tickets. I saw nothing. They paid me nothing for that class. And I didn't say anything. Again, that's my fault. I should have stuck up for myself, but I was like, no, it's fine. Like, I don't mind doing it. Now, my friend Shelly did not have as many students. So I think they didn't treat her as well as they treated me because, again, bringing in a shit ton of revenue, and they gave her a lot of flack. I think one of the things that I regret working for this company is that I gave their company more attention than I did my own business for a very long time because I loved being a part of a community. I loved the people that I was working with again. And I'm sharing this to kind of give you insight on what everything looked like before I decided to leave. I think there was a lot of gaslighting going on when I would second guess the things that were happening, the results that were happening. The owner would always make me think and believe that we were changing the industry. So not only did I not want to lose my friends, but I also thought that we were doing something that was impactful and powerful. Also want to preface, when I was getting ready to leave, not only was I not happy with what was happening inside of the company, and I chose to ignore it for a long time because of the friends that I had that I didn't want to lose, but I was starting to collect data, and this is where things kind of started to go downhill because I was threatening their success. And I also was threatening the mindset of the other coaches inside of the company, which is the same thing that happens to salon owners when they start to get somebody who wants to go out on their own. Someone starts complaining about the way things are done, how things are run, the products that you're using, and they start chit-chatting with other stylists in the salon, and that kind of like gets into their brains. So when we have that in a salon, we need to like get rid of that immediately. When someone is no longer believing in your business and in the way that you do things, you have to get rid of them immediately because it will crush your business. So I know where this was coming from with the owner. I was starting to talk to, some of the other coaches, how the things weren't working for me. I remember one of the coaches came to me and she was talking about how she was going to start doing extensions. And one of her stylists in her salon was only charging $100 an hour, but she wanted to charge $300 for her extension services because that was the going rate and she knew she could charge that. And she's like, I just don't understand. Like, she wants to do something other than hourly pricing. And I remember saying to this coach, yeah, hourly pricing doesn't work for extensions. It does not work for extensions because in the stylist's mind, they will always think that they can make more money. And you can't get that out of their head. So what ends up happening, because you limit their financial success, they end up going someplace else. And I knew that because that is what happened to me. That is what I experienced. So a lot of these things were no longer making sense for the financial success of my future. In this area and this time of wanting to leave the company, I had created my own program. And I was starting to implement the things that I was utilizing with my coaching students that I knew were actually creating success for my students, and the holes and gaps that I saw and the things that were missing in the current program. So again, I knew that this was threatening. I got to a place where I was going through a lot of personal issues. I was in the middle of getting a divorce. It was very chaotic at home for me. It was very stressful at home for me. Inside of the company, they always pushed vulnerability. So sharing personal things like hardships and things that you were going through at home were very important in order to create success in your business because personal things affect your business, right? So a lot of these things I was confiding in both of the owners. I was sharing, things that were happening inside of my personal life, which was a huge mistake. I don't know why I even fell for this. One, because, one of them was my coach for a very long time and we had a very personal relationship. And then of course, because I was so close with the other owner, so they knew a lot of things that were happening in my personal life. And I'm not embarrassed to say what has happened because my husband and I have worked through so much shit and we are stronger than ever. And to be honest, I think my view on relationships have shifted and changed, and the same for him. But we were in a really dark place. And again, when I say this was probably one of the hardest things that I've ever gone through, not only with the things that were happening in my personal life, but within the actual business itself and with my business, it was crazy. I'm not going to lie. When I left the company, this was a month before last year's training. I had plans to see people. People were expecting me to pick them up from the airport. Now, mind you, I talked to these people several times a day on Zoom, texting, in Slack. Like these people were in my everyday life. It's not like we were just texting every now and then. I left the company in June. I wanted to work on some personal things and I was no longer aligning with the company. When training came, which was in August, I was kind of unsure about how things were going to go because I was no longer working for the company. I did not want to overstep and I wanted to have respect for what they were doing. But I had friends that still wanted to see me. I promised people I would pick them up from the airport. We had plans to spend like a day together here and there so that we could, just do things around the city. And mind you, these are people that said they wanted to see me, by the way. That's when all shit and all hell broke loose. I hung out with one of my friends on Thursday night, and then she was being weird. So I was like, oh, okay, I'm just not going to bother her for the rest of the weekend because, again, I didn't want to cause any problems. I didn't want to bother anybody. And then with my other friends, we hung out, Friday night. The Saturday before training, I was not feeling great because we went out the night before. One of my friends messaged me and said, hey, are you going to brunch? And I was like, I really did not want to go because I just wasn't feeling it. I was tired. I have kids. But I was like, you know what? They both flew in from out of town. I'm going to make the effort to go because when I visited her, she did the same for me. And I was like, I can't be that friend. I can't be the friend who isn't reliable. And if she's messaging me, she must want to see me. Mind you, I hung out with the crew that Thursday night. And again, it felt weird. You'd think that the 5 years that I actually invested in this company as a student and as a coach, that a month outside of being with the company, that the weirdness wouldn't be there, but it was. I felt it. My intuition was screaming at me that something wasn't right. We went to brunch Saturday morning, and the person that texted me to go to brunch was being weird. Now, I'm not going to lie, there were things said at brunch, not by me, not by Shelly, but one of the other coaches that decided to go was sharing a personal story of something that had happened about one of the owners mistreating her over the phone. Brunch was over. I dropped 2 of my friends off at their hotel. I swear not even an hour later, I was blocked by both owners. No text message, no reason why. Blocked. Now, I will forever be grateful for one of my friends who totally saved me and opened up my perspective on everything that happened this weekend because they're the only person that were honest with me and shared details on exactly what happened. And I'm going to share that with you all today because it's disgusting. The owner decided to call an emergency meeting after we went to brunch together. The emergency meeting was all the coaches that were in town. The owner not only created a false narrative to make me look like a villain, the owner shared private information in regards to things that were happening in my personal life having to do with my divorce, to make me look like a bad person and to make me look dangerous, which is something that I can't even describe to you, considering that I have never done anything and would never do anything to the people that I love in my life, nor would my husband. And they created this false narrative to isolate me from the rest of the group. Not only did they make a false narrative about what was happening in my personal life so that I looked dangerous, they shared very private, detailed information about very, very personal things that were happening in between me and my marriage. So that's what they did in this emergency meeting. They also created a false narrative around Shelly and played the victims, which I just want to say is so comical because this company put so much focus on personal responsibility, so much focus on personal responsibility for their coaches and for us as team members, yet took none. They acted like victims, which is just hilarious to me. Now, I know why they did this because I was a threat to them. It was their weekends. They didn't want their weekend disturbed. They didn't want me to get into the heads of their coaches And they didn't want me to share the knowledge that I had now that I was outside of the bubble. They used vulnerability as a weapon, and they weaponized my struggle in order to keep my friends from talking to me. They also told the coaches that if they continued, they were no longer allowed to say our names, and pretty much told my friend that if they decided to stay friends with me, that they were no longer allowed to work for the company. So they tried to make me look like a bad person. They tried to make me look at a villain. They lied about my situation to make me look dangerous. They called every single coach that wasn't there, not just one time, multiple times, to make sure that they believed their side of the story. And because they had so much influence over the entire group, every single person stopped talking to me. Actually, no, 2 coaches who did reach out to me to see how I was doing, but not one of the people ever reached out to me again to hear my side. And not that I care, because if I really cared, I would have contacted the coaches to share my story so that I could be heard. But I didn't want to put my friends in a situation that was going to be unfavorable for them because I loved them and I didn't want to cause problems for them and I didn't want to cause drama. I know that the people that truly cared about me as a person would reach out to me and make me a priority. And if they didn't, then they didn't really care. That's just how I look at things. So they really made sure the narrative stuck so that the coaches would no longer talk to me. They made me look like I was crazy, or really gave the narrative that I was trying to take down the company because of the things I was now posting on my social media. Now, if you scroll back, I am not posting anything about them. I never mention a name. I just mentioned the things that completely just did not work for my business and, to be honest, destroyed my revenue, because now I could talk about it because I no longer respected them. It had nothing to do with me trying to destroy their company. It had to do with the people who were doubting themselves and the people who felt crazy because they were told that if things weren't working for them, that it was their problem. And I wanted to share and give people confirmation that they could change the way that they were doing business because they had to. I was simply sharing what I was doing in my business and just sharing the things that didn't work and the things that made my business unsuccessful. Never did I even really share the story. So the manipulation is just like still mind-blowing to me. And to be honest, it's embarrassing that I even fell for it. Now, why am I sharing this? I'm not sharing this again to take down the company. I'm sharing this because this is the exact behavior that most salon owners have when someone leaves their salon. They shame them, they feel threatened, their crazy comes out, they isolate stylists from the group, they try to turn the group away from even talking to this person anymore because they don't want the stylist to say how awesome it is no longer working there to influence the other people. They did the same exact thing that other salon owners do because they felt threatened. And this is just human behavior. I am so glad that this happened because it really opened up my perspective on how I behave in my business, how I could possibly make my stylists feel. Now, when you're in this coaching company, they talk about like the size of your vessel. I used to think that their vessels were so big, and they're so small. Their vessels are so small in comparison to some of the really great leaders and the really great coaches that I know. And it took this crazy situation to happen in order for me to see truly how powerful and how successful I am. And really to have that confidence I need to like really just know that I know what the fuck I'm doing in my business and I know how to create success. And not only that, like really reassuring that the students that I worked with, I really helped, because even though like they had some curriculum that we needed to share with our students, which I did share, reactivity, all the things, I had my own curriculum, like real business shit that I was doing with my students, numbers, going over core values, like the main foundations that you need for a successful business, really troubleshooting real problems with real solutions. So everything for a reason. Now, this is what needs to change in our industry. This is how you change an industry. You change an industry by giving people real solutions to problems, right? Not making salon owners feel like they can't stick up for themselves and that they are being shamed for trying to protect their business by wanting people to leave and not work out their 2 weeks, which that can destroy your business, by the way. And we're going to go over that in a second. We need to be strategic in a positive business building way, not a toxic way. And as an owner, you have to protect your business, period. Salons, again, can fall apart in an instant, leaving the salon owner to fight and pick up the pieces with no empathy from past employees. Even if you are a great leader, it just takes one bad apple for everything to fall apart. This is why you have to work so hard on your leadership, because when you feel threatened, like the situation that I just shared, is what can happen. And we don't want that to happen. The way that you secure your business is you always need to hire. You need to station share. You need to have someone on a morning shift and an evening shift. Stop doing mid shifts. You are leaving your business really vulnerable if you are not getting at least 2 to 3 stylists on a station. I'm telling you. You need to focus on training and developing. This is how you're going to protect your business if someone quits. You need to build retention with your clients and not leave that up to your stylist. I have a whole podcast on how to build retention with the clients that are coming in your business so that clients want to stay if stylists leave. That's okay. Clients don't have to go with stylist people. We spend so much money on marketing. We spend so much money and time on training. We should be spending so much time on client retention and creating an experience that can't be duplicated if somebody leaves. That is your job as an owner. That is how you protect your business. And that's how you keep your sanity when someone wants to leave because you feel secure. You need to create an experience for your team so your team doesn't want to leave. It's not just about client experience. It's about team experience. You have to create a solid growth plan so that your team can continue to find fulfillment in your business. You have to have goals. You have to have a growth plan. And that will keep your team in the salon for as long as possible. You have to work on your leadership. And you have to create growth that isn't just renting or going to a suite. There are so many ways that stylists can be successful. And they have it in their head that it's just renting and that it is just going to a suite. And that is not true. You know, creating a business through Instagram and education is one thing that I like to focus with my girls. Mentoring other stylists coming into the salon is another thing. Helping build the business and creating client experience is another. There are so many options for stylists. No one is perfect. Emotions are hard to work through. And everything is heightened when you feel like you have everything to lose, which is why I have no hard feelings towards these people because I know where they were coming from. I understand because I've been there, but I'm not going to not share my story, and people need to hear it and they need to stop shaming people. If you're listening, hi, you need to stop shaming salon owners. It's very distasteful. So here's what I recommend to do when you have somebody who quits the salon. 1, you need to collect yourself. You need to work through all of the fears that are running through your brain. You need to get rid of the made-up stories that your brain is going to tell you about your entire business falling apart. Work through them and debunk them. Think about worst case scenario, and then think about the solutions that will solve the worst case scenario. You need to not react in a reactive way. By that, I mean, don't try to overcompensate with your team members and give them more stuff so they'll stay. Do not do that. You need to work through your fears, work through your emotions, take 24 hours to do this, no longer. And then you need to assess the damage. What is the damage that this person can do to your business? What is the trust level you have with this person? If this person is a bad apple, if you know that they have been negatively talking about their experience inside of the salon, if they've been complaining, if they've been gossiping, if they have been, doing all of these things that can create real damage, you need to let them go immediately. No questions asked. Now, if you trust this person, then what you need as a salon owner is you need a stylist resignation policy and procedure. What are your non-negotiables to keep the person in the salon for the 2 weeks so they can work out their 2 weeks? What does that look like for you? Your stylist resignation procedure is something that you need to sit down with them and you need to go over it with every single thing that is in that policy. Is that not talking about their new space while they're in the salon so it's respectful? Is that abiding your rules about not going through your system to steal client information? Yes, I know you're like, oh, you can't steal client information. No, actually, it's a big deal. And you as a salon owner can get in a lot of trouble if that breach happens, because it's not up to the salon owner or the stylist to have that information. The client has to give permission. When somebody shares their information for you, that's in the assumption and they have confidence that you're not going to sell or share that information to anyone else. And they didn't give the information to the stylist, they gave the information to the salon. The clients need to give permission in order for people to randomly take information out of the computer. So is that on your policy? Maybe that's you printing out their client list for them. That's something that you can do at the end of the 2 weeks. Is that making sure that they still show up like they are giving 100% at the salon? Is that making sure that they don't give discounts? Like, there are so many things that can go into this procedure, but it needs to be very well thought out. It needs to be something that's going to be put in place so you as the owner can keep your sanity, and so that the stylist continues to respect the space and the business while they're working out their 2 weeks. So if you allow them to stay for those 2 weeks, you need to go over that procedure with them and that policy with them, and then make sure that they sign it. Also, make sure that they fill out, if you are a salon owner, you should be doing an exit interview and you should have a list of exit questions. You can either do the exit interview in person or you can send it to them so they can fill it out honestly through like a type form or through some type of survey. You want to get as much feedback as possible, even if we don't agree with the things that our team members say about us, right? Because sometimes you hear things and you're like, I can't believe this person thought that. It doesn't matter. They still thought that. It was still their perspective. And we need to look at every single person's perspective that's coming into our business so that we can shift what we're doing so that we can retain team members for a longer period of time. And if that's something that was, thought about or thought of by the stylist that's leaving, then you really need to have conversations with your other team members to see what their perspective is, so you can start shifting that so you can retain them. And then also just not talking about their new space with other team members. Like, that's probably something you want to talk about too. You know what? Like I said, this is going to be individual for each person. But you need to have that policy and procedure in place. You need to have the exit interview in place so you can start shifting your leadership. And then if you love this person, celebrate their last day. Celebrate them on social media. Celebrate them in a way that makes them feel good about leaving. You always, if you love this team member and you respect this team member and this team member respects you, you always want to leave that door open. If they're going to rent or they're going to, open a suite, they're going to run across a lot of people. And, maybe they'll run across people that want to work for your salon or that are looking for a salon. You want them to recommend you. So really making sure that you are celebrating them and that you're setting them up for success. Again, it has to be a two-way respect in order to get to those 2 weeks. Now, I am giving you permission. If somebody is not a right fit for your business and you don't trust them being in your business, do not let them stay. Just don't. It's going to really be 2 weeks of hell, and it can cause more damage by maybe having possibly other team members leaving. I'm giving you permission, and it's okay if you don't want them to stay. But with good leadership, we always do the right thing. If somebody is an amazing stylist and has dedicated 5 to 7 years with you and has respected you throughout their entire employment, Respect them when they want to leave. Help them when they want to leave. Keep the door open when they want to leave. And you need to put your fears and the feeling of being threatened on the back burner. And that's the hard thing about leadership, is doing the right thing and sometimes working through those really, really hard emotions. And that is what I wanted to have to share today. So if you loved today's episode and you want to share this with your salon bestie, please write a review. Please also subscribe, and I'll be talking to you next week. Thanks for tuning in to the Elevate podcast. If you loved this episode, it would mean the world to me if you would leave a review on Apple Podcast or wherever you listen. The Elevate podcast is hosted by me, Patricia Nowakowski, and is produced by Opulent Beauty Pro. To receive my free business guides, visit opulentbeautypro.com/free or click the link in the show notes. You can find me on Instagram at Opulent Beauty Pro or at Patricia_Nowakowski_OBS. If you love this show, please consider subscribing, and we will see you next week.